You're listening to the Dibbly-Dobbly podcast. Remember to like, share, comment, subscribe, and click the bell to make sure you get the latest episodes of the podcast. Be sure to like and share our Facebook page and follow us on Twitter and on Instagram. Let's move on, Jehan, and talk about and discuss the white ball focus, ODIs versus T20s for Australia. Mainly, what format should Australia prioritise the most going forward in the years to come? And I suppose it's a dilemma that all cricketing countries have to answer, really, given the rise of T20 cricket and ODI's slow decline in recent years, sort of losing its sort of touch and veneer and relevance, and T20 cricket sort of taking over as the predominant white ball format, really. So not only Australia, but all countries are in the same boat. So Jehan, how do you see Australia going about this? What white ball format should they prioritise the most and put their attention to going forward? And I sort of know what the answer to this one is going to be, but give us your thoughts on that.
Yeah, so I think the international team should be focusing on ODI cricket over T20. And as I said earlier, I think they need to go back to trying to create that legacy of being a great one-day side, which they were between the World Cups of '99 and 2015. I think that I mean, you're never really going to be able to have a legacy T20 international side because you can't consistently win in that format, no matter how good you are. So I think that's what they should do. I mean, that's not to say that they don't need to invest a lot in Big Bash and try and develop players in T20, but I think in the international format, they should only really be focusing on the World Cups. So have a few series in preparation for ahead of them. I think they should be every 4 years instead of every 2 years. So it has more of a context to it, but that's more of a thing for the ICC rather than Australian cricket. But I think. Yeah, and I don't really understand this opposition to ODI cricket as well, because it's played over a whole day. It's 9 hours. That's plenty of opportunity to make money in terms of TV advertising, ticket sales, food and drink at the venues, etc. There's a lot of money that can be made from that. I think particularly in the television rights. And there used to be a time in the 90s and 2000s where ODI cricket was huge, and particularly in the subcontinent. So that would be my thoughts. I think the home summer, I would like to see them bringing back the Tri-Series, or at least having 1 or 2 5-match ODI series following a test series. And I feel that the T20s should be just played as like exhibition type matches almost. So just as an opportunity to field up and coming players, really, without that. I was going to say without that desperate need to win, but I'm not sure that's there anyway, because it's so hard to consistently do that anyway. But yeah, I mean, that would be my thoughts going forward. It just seems to be that nearly every team around the world is not prioritizing ODI cricket at all. And I think they'd much rather play T20 series at home instead. But I don't know if, like in terms of revenue, I feel that they would probably get more money from playing ODIs, but yeah. So yeah, I'm not really sure about that, but that's the way it seems to be going. It has been going in the last few years. Wonder what your thoughts about that are.
Yeah, no, I agree with what you've had to say there in some points. I suppose it's just the way the world is now, Jehan, in cricket now. We're in a different world now, where different audiences and different everything, really. And ODI cricket's sort of, the way I'd like to compare it is sort of like this. You have 3 formats, right? So Test cricket's like a fine wine. It's like the rarest wine in the world that only unique people like to drink, like you and me, for example. Well, I don't drink, but anyway, for the purposes of this comparison and analogy, it's quite a unique taste that people like to gravitate towards. And then you have T20 cricket, which is like the popular energy drink that's tastes good, but it's bad for you, but it's popular, right? And you have too much of it, it gets a bit out of hand. And then you have ODI cricket, which is like the middle ground, sort of that drink that people, like. It's okay, they can drink it, if other drinks aren't available. So that's how I sort of put it in that sort of analogy. And that's sort of like one-day cricket at the moment, sort of in the middle, unsure about its relevance and context.
Yeah.
Whereas with T20 cricket, it's definitely developed over the years, and especially over the last few years, but especially when the IPL came around, it's definitely taken off, and it's the way forward. It's much easier. You got to look at it this way. It's much easier for television. It's much easier for people, convenient, in a world that we're easily distracted and attention spans are low. You want to try and get as many people watching as possible, especially on TV. For a test match and an ODI, people tend to, well, let's just put it this way. If you're at a test match or an ODI, you're not going to watch every single ball, are you? You're going to be doing something else. Occasionally, you're going to watch the play and what's happening there. Whereas in T20 cricket, you're there for 120 balls, 3 hours. You're watching every ball because it's short, sharp, quick. So that's the battle that you have to overcome. I like one-day cricket. I like all forms of cricket because I'm cricket tragic. But, one-day cricket, people who love test cricket love one-day cricket rather than T20 cricket because of it's like a mini test match in a way, really. And it has
look,
that.
When I watch an ODI on TV or at the ground, I can start watching or turn up to the ground thinking, I wonder who's going to score a match-winning 100 for their country to win the game for them. Which you just don't get in T20. Like that's rarely going to happen.
No,
and if it does happen, it's just one guy slogging for a few overs, like for 10 overs or so.
Like we saw in the IPL this year on those flat tracks, and Travis Head going off the way he did for the Sunrisers.
Yeah. One of my favorite innings growing up was I don't know if you remember this, but the opening game of the 2003 World Cup, which was in South Africa, West Indies against South Africa. And they got off to a horrendous start. Like Chris Gale got out in the first over. Wavell Hines got a shocking decision from one of the umpires. I can't remember who it was. And they were like, I don't know, 15 for 2 off 10 overs or something, just going nowhere. And then Lara comes in. I think he got dropped first ball by Callis at third slip, a difficult catch diving to the left. And then he just puts a partnership with, I think it was Chanderpaul. And they're sort of slowly upping the run rate. It's going up to 3s. It's going up to 3.5s. And you're still thinking, okay, South Africa just way on top here, just in terms of the run rate. They've only taken 2 wickets. But then out of nowhere, he just clicks, hits Donald for 2 sixes and just gets going, scores this great 100. They managed, and then Ramnesh Sarwan and I think Ricardo Powell managed to get them to 280. and then they end up winning that game by 2 or 3 runs, and like Klusner almost wins them the game at the end, and then he gets out in the last over. I was 15 when that game happened. That was just sensational to watch. Like I just don't. I can't think of any game like that in T20.
No, not really. Oh, there've been some, excuse me, some games that have gone down the wire here and there, and then super overs happen and that. But I understand what you're trying to say. Is that it's not quite the same as an ODI that goes down
over the course of the whole day. Like there were so many ebbs and flows and drama and things that happened during the whole day.
Yeah, definitely. You don't quite get that in T20 because it's sort of a different form of cricket. But
and you get a result at the day as well. You don't have to wait 5 days. So I mean
you do. That's true. So that's the sort of thing that ODI cricket has up against it, I suppose. And excuse me, with T20 cricket. But yeah, no, it's one of those questions that people are asking quite a lot about the future of one-day cricket and T20 cricket. But as I mentioned before, the world is changing in cricket, and people's preferences are changing as well. You could be a young fan that gets into cricket. Not everyone likes Test cricket or ODI cricket, but over time, I think Nasser Hussain said this, over time that you're a young fan getting into the game, you probably like T20 cricket. And then as you get older, your tastes, your preferences start to change, and then you probably gravitate towards ODIs and T20s and say, this ain't bad. Where was I? I should have been watching this ages ago from the start.
Yeah.
But I suppose, that's just how it's going at the moment. But it's more beneficial T20 cricket for associate nations because it's much easier for them. Because I've spoken to a lot of associate people in the associate world, as you know, Jehan, on the podcast.
Yeah.
They're wonderful people. They're very passionate and they care deeply about cricket. I've always asked them this question, do you put more emphasis on one-day cricket? And they say not really, because it's a hard sell. It's a difficult sell in those countries because people are not familiar with Test cricket. They're not familiar with one-day cricket. They don't even play games that go for 2 days or 3 days. They don't play multi-day cricket. T20 cricket's like the equivalent, especially in European countries, especially to football, soccer, because it goes for 90 minutes, whereas T20 cricket goes for 3 hours. So that's how you're going to get people in and interested in the sport and keep them engaged. So I think with the T20 World Cup, as we discussed earlier, having 20 teams and having the associate countries work towards a T20 World Cup, it's much easier to qualify for a T20 World Cup for an associate nation compared to an associate nation trying to qualify for a 50-over World Cup, if that makes sense.
Yes.
Yeah, because, they don't have enough resources, the money, they get basically paid peanuts. So they have to put their attention to one particular thing, and that's T20 cricket. Now, some associate countries play one-day cricket. Others just focus on T20 cricket. Yeah. And you just got to look at it from that perspective as well, that not everyone, it's much easier for some countries to follow that path. In an ideal world, you would like everyone playing one-day cricket, but, it's just too many difficulties and challenges. What's this next World Cup in 2027? It's back to 14 teams.
Okay. Yeah.
From 10, which is good. So hopefully, but the thing with that is, South Africa will qualify, but Namibia and Zimbabwe won't. How does that work? If you're having host nations and co-hosts, they should be playing in the same tournament. But given that it's 14 teams, that's not how it's going to pan out. So that's not a good look.
Okay. So 2 of the hosts aren't going to be playing in it?
No. South Africa will, because they're the host nation. Yeah. And Zimbabwe and Namibia are co-hosts, but they have to go through qualification to get there.
Right.
When you think about it. So And that's how it works.
Right.
So that's the thing, really. So because that's why everyone's putting all their attention to T20 cricket, the Olympics, obviously, and T20 World Cup expansion.
Yeah.
It's just the way the world is going. I know people don't like change and are apprehensive about change, but the game has to change to develop in these times. We can't be stuck in the past. The past has already happened. Yeah, of course, the past is great. Many great things have happened in the past in cricket, Test cricket and ODIs. You go back and say, "Hey, that was a great time."
Yeah.
But obviously, it's now 2024. Times have changed. I think we can still coincide with all three formats if we try different things to make it work. I think the problem is that you need to add context and relevance to certain for T20s and ODIs. Let's be honest, if you have context behind something, then it's worthwhile doing it, really. A lot of people say you don't need context in Test cricket because it already has that. But when you think about it, really, compare that to ODIs and T20s, you've got to have something, behind it to make you want to focus more on that, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Right. So the ICC had the ODI Super League, which they got rid of. Sort of like the World Test Championship in a way. You play 3 home series and 3 away series, but you don't play everyone. You play certain teams out of 13 or something like that, the top.
Right.
So teams plus the host nation qualify. They did that for the last did they do that for the last World Cup? I think they did. And they've got rid of it now. Whereas in T20 cricket, you don't have that sort of system. You just rely on qualifiers and for the associate countries, qualifiers, and then rankings and where you finished in the previous tournament.
Right.
So I think that's the big problem, really, and looking at that. But cricket, has to sort of adapt to the times as well. We just can't, change has to happen in order for progress to happen. And that's the way I look at it. Things just have to adapt and change over time. And I know there's quite a big opposition to T20 cricket, which is fair enough because people have said it's a detriment to the game and it's caused many problems than good, which some people have said. But you've got to look at it from different sides of the coin. As I just mentioned with associate cricket and getting people into the game at all levels. And one day cricket, when it came in, that's the thing. Because one day cricket became popular, Jehan, is because back in the day when you just had Test cricket, it was something different, right? It was something different, something new. It was something different than Test cricket, but it was still Test cricket, but a mini sort of Test match. It was something new, it was something different, and that's why people watched it. And then over the years, you sort of get sort of tired with it. It becomes a bit boring or, has lost its appeal. And then when T20 cricket came in the early 2000s, it made people interested. It was like, oh, this is something different. 20 overs. What's this all about? Super overs and all this stuff and that. So, and, that's 20 odd years now, isn't it? Since T20 cricket came in.
Yeah.
And, has it lost its appeal? It's probably only getting stronger and stronger because of the IPL and these T20 franchise leagues around the world. Excuse me. So, but all countries, as long as you have a World Cup sort of there, then countries will definitely look to invest and put the time into, building towards a World Cup and trying to win it. So as long as you have a World Cup or something, I think ODI cricket will still be here. T20 cricket, you have a tournament every 2 years, which sort of devalues the purpose of a T20 World Cup or a World Cup in general because, it's every 2 years, isn't it? It's sort of like meant to be a build, isn't it? You're meant to work towards it for 4 years, like you do in a 50-over sort of thing. So the way I see it is basically we just have to accept that the times are changing. And, if you want to get people involved in the game, then T20 cricket's probably the best way to do that than one-day cricket at the moment. And then...
Yeah, I just, like, when I think about it, when you try and pinpoint when T20s seem to be overtaking ODIs in terms of internationals, probably around, I don't think it was that long ago. It was probably around 2018, 2019, maybe. Because I remember when India came in, well, they played a ODI series in 2016 from memory, and there were massive crowds for those games, and there was a huge amount of interest in it. And then as the seasons have gone on, we've just been playing more and more T20s and less ODIs. And not only that, but there's less people turning up to the ODIs as well, so people are losing interest in them.
Yeah, and it's much easier for countries to organize a T20 series.
Yeah.
Because it's short, sharp, and quick. You can play 5 T20s a couple of days apart, maybe 3 days in between for some games to give them a bit of a break. Yeah. Whereas with ODI cricket, you can't really do that, can you? Wait a few days and then play. But I think it just comes down to people just, convenience. I think Jehan is the big one. I've been to a few ODIs and the crowds have been not as big. I think I around about that 2018-19 period when I went to a couple of ODIs in Adelaide with South Africa and India.
Yeah,
the crowds weren't big for those games, but you still had a good number that turned up. And you can either go for the whole day or just go for the first or second innings. And I went for the second innings, the nighttime period, which was pretty good. But I remember watching one-day cricket 10 years ago, when we had the tri-series and all that stuff. People turned up and watched, and it was quite good to be a part of.
And there was a kind of carnival festival sort of atmosphere.
Yeah, sort of like that, yeah. And, you had that sort of feeling about it at the time. Whereas now, with T20 cricket, it's sort of overtaken and it's become the dominant format, really. I think Nasser Hussain said it's sort of cannibalism. I think it's eating away at ODI cricket because when you have 3 formats, they tend to eat at each other. And T20 cricket's doing that at the moment to ODI cricket. And it's sort of losing its relevance and appeal and that. So it's very important to work out a way or a solution that we can go forward with 3 formats. I think having 3 formats, yes, it provides a lot of challenges, a lot more cricket in a very condensed international calendar, but it gives people 3 options and preferences to watch cricket. You may not like one particular format, but you may like this format or that format. So it gives people some choices, I suppose. But, people in charge, ICC and, TV broadcasters and that, I think I heard this once that they told the ICC, I think, that we want T20, we want to just broadcast T20 World Cups because they're much, make the most profit and you get people watching, I think I heard that from somewhere.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I think Jared Kimbers mentioned that or something like that. I listened to him or something, which is probably about right given how T20 cricket's going at the moment. But, ODI cricket will still be here as long as the ICC or everyone in cricket will want to play it. And T20 cricket's not going anytime soon. So, it's one of those things that you just have to try and work out. And I suppose we've done okay with 3 formats up until this point.
Yeah.
Whether or not it's sustainable going into the long term, who knows? But with a lot of people playing T20 cricket, and you hear some of the players say, we still like to play one-day cricket. I've heard a lot of players say that. So there's still some attraction and some importance on one-day cricket from time to time, which is pretty good. So But cricket has a very hard time of adapting, and we're very close-minded in cricket, Jehan. We're not open-minded people, especially the fans. Conservative and traditionalists and all that stuff. But sometimes you have to look at the bigger picture and look at different things and try different things to see if they work or not. And cricket's not willing to do that. So who knows? Who knows what will happen in 10 years' time? Maybe T20 cricket will be just the, predominant format in white ball cricket. And then ODIs will probably just be banished altogether, or you just have it for World Cups only. And a lot of people have thrown some wacky ideas out there. Even some people have said maybe you should just improve one-day cricket in general and probably make it sort of like a test match and have 2 innings. I think Sachin Tendulkar mentioned that or something, which, some ideas there to improve it, or maybe you could change it from 50 to 40 overs, or, have bowlers. Sorry?
I think the World Cup tournament was pretty good, to be honest.
The cricket in the World Cup last year was pretty good. Yeah, the 50-over World Cup was
great cricket, like enthralling cricket. Yeah, and not like, I suppose it's not like that sort of fickle sort of cricket. Like, it could keep you captivated for a while, each of the games.
Yeah, definitely. No, absolutely. But yeah, it's always that ongoing debate, isn't it, whether or not we should prioritize ODI cricket or T20 cricket or franchise cricket, but that's just the way it is. Players have a lot of options now, really. How many players are churning at the bit to play domestic one-day cricket? Not many. It's all T20 cricket now, so and franchises. Yeah. And I suppose you have a look at the one-day domestic tournament here in Australia. Cricket Australia put a lot of energy and resources into the Big Bash, obviously, and the Women's Big Bash as well. But it just shows you where you want to get people in through the doors. Put it this way, Jehan. Which popular format in domestic cricket that many people go and watch? It's T20 domestic.
In domestic, definitely T20, yeah.
Yeah, not many people on ODIs or one-day cricket or first-class cricket, isn't there?
Yeah.
So that's where you're going to put your money and effort and resources in too. And that's the case in all countries, really. So, yeah, it is interesting going forward and seeing how, cricket navigates through these challenges and either one-day cricket or T20 cricket. I remember, coming home from school, watching the back half of the first innings and then watching the second innings. That's the beauty of one-day cricket, And I always earned for that. Every time I was at school, I was like, damn, the one day is on. I'm not going to miss it. So come home from school, you watch the back end of the first innings, and then you watch the second innings up until the end of the day, up until the late at night. And that's sort of the nostalgia and sort of the memories that people have of watching one-day cricket over the years.
Well,
certainly I do.
Growing up in England, for me, it would be setting the alarm for 3:30 in the morning, watching that first innings, and then if it was a school day, then I'd have to get ready in the interval, the break between innings, and then I'd get to watch maybe the first 10 to 15. I think it was the first 10 overs before I'd have to leave for school, and then I'd turn up at school quite sleep deprived. And if that was a weekend, then you'd watch it straight through, and it would finish at 11, 12 midday, something like that. And then you could have a nice afternoon nap once the game was over.
Yeah, no, definitely. No, that's definitely definitely what I remember from growing up and watching, cricket, especially when I was going to school in those, late 2000s sort of period, and and just, watching ODI cricket, and it was great. But, it's sad that it's sort of declining in the way it is, really. But,
Yeah, and it would be the middle of winter for us, so it would be cold most of the time, and so we'd all be like rugged up on the sofa bed in front of the TV watching the first innings, and then as the morning went on, have some breakfast and watch the rest of the game. I remember, I have really good memory of the VB series second final, England Australia at the MCG, where it was quite a close game. Like England were just chasing 220 or something. They were doing pretty well, and then Brett Lee comes on at the death, starts getting some reverse swing, and he wins them. He gets 5 wickets, wins them the game by like 2 or 3 runs in the last over. James Anderson was the last one to get out. He walked out of the crease. He got stumped. He got run out, I suppose. He walked out the crease, and Gilly threw it at the.
This wasn't 2002-3, was it?
Yes, it was 2002.
Yes, yeah, I thought so. Yeah.
January 2003, probably. And I just remember that whole crowd at the MCG as he was running into bowl. Like, I don't know how many people were there, but it was huge. And they were all like banging on the boards and was making like a huge noise. And you could hear that like through the microphones on watching it on TV. And it just looked like an amazing atmosphere. And I was only, I was 14 or 15 at the time. And that's when I was thinking, I need to be in Australia watching this live at the game.
Yeah, no, especially in those early days, one-day cricket was pretty good in popularity, and because that was the only format around, really. You didn't have T20 cricket in those days.
No, right.
But yeah, no, it's just it's people who are genuine cricket fans would understand. If you love Test cricket, then you would love ODI cricket.
Yeah,
because you appreciate, the game and the format, and it's good to see a contest between bat and ball, not just one or the other dominating as it does in T20 cricket. And yes, don't get me wrong, 6s and 4s are great, but you want to see a good contest. You want to see a bowler challenge a batter, and have that battle.
I think with ODI, you get more of a narrative as well, because it's over a period of time. Whereas T20 is over so quickly before you know it.
It's sort of one of those, what are they called? Those flip books or something. You flip the pages and the picture moves. That's sort of like T20 cricket. It's all over in a matter of seconds, whereas ODI cricket and Test cricket's more like a story, a narrative, right, as you said. You have a start, middle, a climax, and an ending, which you can't get in T20 cricket. This is all done in one go. But
in T20, it's just climax for the whole thing, isn't it?
Pretty much. It certainly wasn't the IPL this year, I can tell you. With the rate of scoring and Travis Head going off and doing what he was doing for Sunrisers Hyderabad. And that as well. But
so you know when the IPL first started, those first few seasons, apparently Kevin Peterson said, "Oh, you got to take some time out and go and smash medium pace bowlers around small grounds in India from time to time."
Well, I suppose that's the case, isn't it? T20 cricket. But it's of course, it's that ongoing debate that we always have, and look, at the end of the day, it's your preference. If you want to watch T20 cricket, that's your choice. You can watch it. That's we shouldn't really put people down for watching T20 cricket. We should not say that you're not a true cricket fan if you want. It's cricket. It's some form of cricket. If you like it, that's great. And a lot of people I've spoken to, especially in many countries, get into T20 cricket. They just see it and watch it, and they get introduced to it. And then you gravitate towards ODIs and T20s eventually. Test cricket, eventually, when your tastes and preferences change over time. But it is a good format. If we can work out a few things with it. Maybe can coincide with T20 cricket, but we don't know what's going to happen in the years to come in terms of that. But yeah, I think they are bringing back a tri series. I think Pakistan are playing a tri series with New Zealand or something. I think that was in the Future Tours program or something like that.
Yeah,
But
well, that would be good. We'll be able to gauge what the popularity is when it happens.
Yeah, well, in Australia, they always played the World Series, didn't they? And all that stuff, tournaments and that, over the years for one-day cricket, and then obviously the tri-series. And I think the last tri-series in Australia was 2014-15, and that was Australia, India, and England for the World Cup here in Australia. So that was the last tri-series. But I always look forward to watching the tri-series as well, especially in those years towards the end of the 2000s for me. That sort of 2012-13 period when India and Sri Lanka played in the tri-series with Australia, and obviously the one with England and India as well. Great atmosphere, great fun, and it's sad that those formats are long gone, unfortunately. But it's just the way it is, I suppose. But going back to what we discussed earlier, is that if you have relevance and context behind something, and if you have a World Cup, then your priority should lie there. So it's just trying to get that balance right, really, now. And that's the difficult thing, because you have 3 formats, and where do you prioritize your attention and focus? A lot of people say you should do it for Test cricket because that's the pinnacle and that's the main format of the sport. But you have ODIs and T20s as well, and it's trying to prioritize those and try and work towards a World Cup and try to win that. So that's the delicate balance that we have in the game, and the challenges there, and obviously trying to work around that. So let's see what happens in the years to come, Jehan, when it comes to that. But let's hope ODI cricket's here for a lot longer, because it's a pretty good format to watch. Once you understand it, once you get into it, it's a pretty good format. So for those people unsure, give it a go. Watch a one-day match and see if you may like it or not. So it'll be interesting to see what Australia do in the years to come when it comes to prioritizing ODIs and T20s going forward. And I suppose it's the same for all countries as well. Hi everyone, hope you enjoyed hearing Jehan and I discuss the white ball focus ODI versus T20 internationals for Australia.